Hello and welcome to the From the Spirit World podcast, a legendary Avatar The Last Airbender, The Legend of Korra, and Avatar Seven Havens podcast for overlyanimated.com. I'm your host, Dylan, and today I'm joined by Delaney.
Hey y'all.
And today we are going to just do a quick introduction to the big news on Avatar Seven Havens, the next Avatar series coming from Avatar Studios. That was just announced yesterday. Happy 20 year anniversary to Avatar The Last Airbender today
We're
that we're
all
recording
old.
this.
Yay.
Yeah, even you somehow
Even
getting we're
me, even me, I'm old now.
all getting up there. But if you want celebration, looking back on Avatar for the 20-year anniversary, we've been doing a whole series basically about that. So check out the From the Spirit World rewatch series where we've been rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender and kind of looking at it in the frame of 20 years later and looking back at old fandom stuff. So check out the From the Spirit World feed on anywhere you listen to podcasts to find those ones out. So not going to get too much into sentimentality stuff. We've seriously been doing a ton of that on that series. So listen to that for more. We much like Avatar Studios have been preparing for the 20 year anniversary, although not a ton of news. We just get this brief press release as an announcement for Avatar 7 Havens. There's no trailers, dates, anything like that. So we're going to walk you through the news that came out. Just there's not a lot, so I'm just going to tell you what it is, and we'll briefly go over the most important things. And that's kind of going to be it for now. So, if you want more Avatar Studios future content, subscribe to whatever feed you're listening this on, our YouTube, youtube.com/overlyanimated. Yes, we are From the Spirit World, who podcasted on Avatar while it was originally airing, yada, yada, yada. For more on that, listen to the From the Spirit World rewatch feed. So, the other thing to note is that there were leaks for Avatar 7 Havens. So there is more information than what we're about to go over out there. I just want to warn people that while these leaks were clearly like in the right ballpark, considering everything that was announced today was from the leaks, so it was right. While that's true, the leaks can be outdated. Like this is clearly information from the past, and things can change. I don't think the show is deep into development. It's kind of not clear exactly where it is, but some of the stuff that you read from the leaks could change over the development process. That's just kind of how it works. So I would be cautious, and I'll bring up the leaks a few times here, just because there's a few parts that are impossible to kind of talk about without also bringing up slight additional context from the leaks. But the only things that are confirmed to be true are what has been officially released by Nick and Avatar Studios. So if you've not seen the leaks, don't worry. I'll give all the bare bones necessary context for the leaks. So I guess let's get into it we'll go over the information from okay, first we'll give the intro. Avatar 7 Havens from the press release, all new series from creators Mike and Brian set in the world of Avatar Last Airbender. The original 26 episode 2D animated series centers around a young earthbender who discovers she's the new Avatar. And those 26 episodes, it says later in the press release, are comprised of book one, 13 half-hour episodes, and book two, 13 half-hour episodes. So that's the basic information. Delaney, what was your reaction to hearing this? Are you excited for the next Avatar show?
Of course, I'm also excited for there's new information. We did know like vaguely that they were working on a show in addition to the movie.
Yeah.
I think when they first announced Avatar Studios and they were giving out a little bit more information. So I'm excited that there's like more information. I'm happy that it's another, girl Avatar. And I think what's interesting is the 26 episodes. So 26 episodes is more than a Avatar season. But if you in the context of Korra, it's kind of interesting because so 26 episodes is like
It's two
a little
two
bit
two
over
seasons of Korra, so that they said in
yeah,
the
it's like
press
yeah, it's
release,
like one and a
it's
half Korra. It's like a one and a half Korra, like as a show.
yeah, true. The first season was shorter. But they seem to be going back to the Korra season lengths for the last few seasons of Korra.
Right. So yeah, so it's 13 episodes, which is longer, but I don't know, but I mean, we're getting two right off the bat, which it isn't. And I mean, the only thing I can conclude is that it's just two seasons, but that might not necessarily be true.
Right. So they're announcing two seasons. Doesn't mean that the show is
It's
only
just
two
two seasons,
seasons,
but it could
but
be.
It could be. Right, exactly. That's how I'd phrase it too. Because
This is
Korra,
it's interesting.
yeah, Korra at first was one. Korra was a miniseries. It was one season, and
Yeah,
then
it was just
they got another season, and then they got two more seasons. So something similar
right.
could happen here. But at least to start, they're saying this show is the implication is it's just two seasons. That's kind of what they're saying, but it can always be more.
Which I mean, I think it sounds good just for like I'm like, yeah, I mean, they're really putting a lot behind this. We're getting, I mean, two full seasons, a little bit. So it seems they're like, all right, we don't want to just do 10 episodes, but we don't want to do full 20 episodes. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and it is. I
And
mean, for in the context of like a modern animated show, getting a two season order off the bat for like a high budget, presumably show is pretty big. Like shows don't really get
yes,
this. Yeah, cool. I
and
am. Any last high level thoughts?
just yeah, it's just like they're like, yeah, we're gonna, and also like presumably, if we assume we're not getting more, like, okay, cool, we're gonna give you a complete story. This isn't like, okay, you get one season, if it's good, you'll get more.
Right. You would assume they're gonna either conclude the story or know that they're getting more, right? Like and leave it
Yes.
open. Considering they got a whole studio. Mike and Brian have a lot of power here. Like you get a whole studio, even though there's layoffs across the animation industry and probably budget cuts and stuff. It's unlikely this is going to get canceled abruptly. So
And there was, did Paramount change hands?
yes, Paramount did get sold, so that is of concern, I guess, that high level leadership. But the person in charge of Avatar Studios is still there. Not that it's been a long time, but that's good news that Avatar Studios leadership, Ramsey Naito, she basically responsible for creating Avatar Studios, at least had the idea. So good that she's still in charge of that for now. Yeah, my high level reaction is just like I'm just very like sure we knew a show was coming and then there are leaks, but I'm just really happy it's real. We're getting a new Avatar show. This to me was what's most important from Avatar Studios. This is like the purpose of Avatar Studios to me was to get a show about the next Avatar made. That is what I'm here for. Like, look, I'm very excited for the Aang movie. I love Aang. Listen to the From the Spur Rewatch podcast. I recently talked about Aang's most important, character I've ever
Dylan
seen.
Dylan has a soliloquy. You should go listen
Yeah,
to
you
it.
can go listen to it. That being said, I don't care. Like relative to the new Avatar show, I don't care about that movie. Like that, and I know maybe that's blasphemous, but I am here for the journey of the next Avatar's journey, right? Like that's what I've fallen in love with Avatar and then Korra, is the long form journey of the Avatar. And so checking in on Aang and whatever movies we have to come, like it's nice, but that's not what's going to get me really excited. This is what I want. I want to experience the like emotions of watching Avatar and Korra, like the most important shows in my life, the most like meaningful and exciting media experiences of my life. I want to go through that a third time. They're two for two on completely incredible shows that were so amazing for me, and I think I speak for all from the Spirit World crew with that. So, like all of any other there's a lot of other potentially interesting content Avatar Studios could put out. We did a whole like pitch meeting podcast. You can check in the From the Spirit World feed on that. None of us were right about what the next Avatar show would be about,
Nope.
by the way. So, but like, there's a lot of details we're about to talk about that are like not exactly what I would have made, what I would have done for the next show. Almost none of this is what I would have done for the
Nope.
next show. That being said, I don't care. I'm just happy that there's the next Avatar show. This is what we needed. This is what I've been waiting for. So I'm not going to sweat the details here. Like we'll talk about it to come here, but I do want to say the most important thing to me is this show exists. It's being made by Mike Bryan and a lot of these amazing people who made Avatar and Core and a lot of amazing new people as well. And hopefully we are going to get all 26 of these episodes. That's by far the most important thing to me.
And I
Agree or
think you bring
disagree,
up a real
Delaney?
think you I mean, I agree. I think you bring up a really good point too, because I think, which this is one of the exhausting things I think about fandom. Like for me, like, basically exactly what you said about, going through the journey. Like that's what's so great about Avatar. And, I think something we're missing in a lot of animation now because things don't get to live very long, but like Aang's
Yeah.
story started and ended. Korra's story started and ended, and both of these characters went on incredible journeys. And also Avatar, which is, I mean, it's also very similar to a show that Dylan and I both also really enjoy, Doctor Who. And it always happens when there's a new doctor. You get the regeneration. People are really upset. They're going to complain about and Doctor Who also often has new showrunners and new writers when a new doctor takes the helm, and it gets it's all, and we're seeing a lot of that too, as this news breaks and, the fandom, reacts. And, Avatar has that very special quality that Doctor Who has. And to remind everyone, if those who are not that familiar, Doctor Who is like the longest running, like, sci-fi, like, property ever. Like, it did take a little bit of a break, but like, it has been a constant for nearly 60 years. And Avatar, I think, actually also has that staying power, that potential. We're at 20 years, and we're about to be on our third show, and like Doctor Who, it's branched out into other mediums, and that's the staying power of Avatar. Is this, it's the ongoing, the eternal spirit of the Avatar, and that's really like the driving point of the show, of the series. And that's really, I just really liked that point that you made, that, and that's what this is about. And that's what I'm interested in too about this show. Like, I love Aang, I love Korra, I love those stories, I love those characters, I love all the characters that came with both of these shows. But I mean, we have to move on, and there's more. I mean, there's so much world building and history, and it's kind of fun to see also, like, the aftermath. Like, we saw the aftermath of Aang being the Avatar with Korra, and now we'll get to live
Yeah.
through
Okay. So
the aftermath of
speaking
Korra.
of which, let's get into the details. But you said the spirit
Yeah,
of the Avatar. You're talking about Rava, right? That's what the civilization.
obviously Rava, the literal spirit of Avatar,
Yes.
Rava.
Also, I was like, what show are you about to bring up? Doctor Who? Okay, I guess I can see it. That's interesting. I was like, well, this could be a lot of things here. Okay,
I mean, it's
Doctor Who.
literally the same. This, like, I mean, you have this character that is enduring.
I guess this is true. This is true. Avatar has not like been as consistent as the modern Who since it came back, airing. But that would be very cool if we got to see so many
Speaking of which,
avatars.
that's also this year is also the 20th anniversary of Doctor Who beginning anew, when the
Modern Who. Yeah, no, it was about the
modern
same
Who in
time
2000.
as Avatar. Yeah, so that's
So we're elderly.
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's read the plot description of. I mean, I guess first let me finish out the bottom quote from the press release, which is So we said book one and book two, 13.5 hour episodes from Mike and Brian are co-creators and executive producers. Ethan Spalding is executive producer, and Seti is a co-producer, a co-executive producer. Additional news of the premiere date and casting date will be announced at a later time. So basically, there's nothing else. Mike and Brian are co-creating this show, and they're listed as the only co-creators, which is like I'm kind of surprised. I thought Mike and Brian wouldn't want to be the hands on deck leads of another show. Every time after they finished Avatar and Korra, they talk about how much they kind of hated it and how terrible, like not like hated it, but how tiring it was for them. But they seem to still be in charge here. Ethan Spalding is back from Avatar days. I don't think he was on Korra. That's very exciting. He's a director from Avatar. Very talented, so that's very exciting. And then Sahaji Sethi, a new it seems to be like South Asian woman, created at least high, not listed as co-creator, but high level like co-executive producer. So potentially should like show running as well. I guess it doesn't say show running. So that combined with some of the info from the leak seems to indicate that the Avatar and surrounding family will be of like South Asian, Indian plus, other countries kind of ancestry, like not like obviously literally, but inspired by such. So that's kind of the vibes you get from if you dig a little deeper. But let's read this description of the show. This is what we're going to talk about for the rest of the podcast. So Avatar Seven Havens is okay, before this, Delaney, what do you think of the name Seven
Okay, I
Havens?
wanted to talk about this. This is
Yeah.
like the most important thing I want to talk about.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm really irritated that it doesn't have "the" in it. Um, it's
Avatar
weird.
the say Seven Havens.
Yeah, like, it's weird because
Yeah,
we have, so
Korra and Avatar both have the before them. It's true.
yes, and then also like so you do Avatar, The Last Airbender, and then it's not really Avatar: The Legend of Korra. It's just The Legend of Korra. And then
Right.
now we're like Avatar. So, like it's weird. Like I'm like, okay, like did we have a lot of meetings about this? Like
I think this is purely a legal thing. And when they were making
okay,
Korra, James Cameron's Avatar, the Blue People Avatar, they were like, you can't call anything Avatar now. So it's interesting that they're getting the name Avatar back, at least for television. I don't think the Aang movie is going to be called Avatar because maybe
probably
movies
not.
are not allowed. But it seems like I think they would have called Legend of Korra Avatar if they could have. But
Right.
that's my impression at least. But yeah, that is notable. Here's my thing with Seven Havens is it reminds me of Seventh Heaven. It seems I'm like
Yes,
what
I
it's
did watch
very
them.
very similar. I don't
Also,
know.
I mean, the choice. Also, we are choosing to use the number and not spell it out.
No, so spell it out, not the number. It's
Oh,
Avatar colon
we are spelling it out.
SEVEN. Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, that's okay then. That's
yeah,
acceptable. It wasn't clear. I'm sorry.
yeah. Um, no, no name of the Avatar in the title, which is different than. I mean, Aang's
I mean,
not.
Aang. It doesn't say Aang, but he
It
is
says
the
he's
last
right,
Airbender.
you know.
So yeah,
So
no, but you're right. Like this
no
isn't Seven
reference to
Haven.
the new
Yeah,
Avatar in
it's no
here.
reference to who the Avatar is.
I'm not a big fan of the title to start with, but maybe it'll grow on me.
Yeah, it's not great. I don't like it that much. Like
Uh,
it's not horrible. It kind of reminds me of how we dunked on every single title of core episodes because they were awful.
yeah, they're not don't have a great track record with the name. So
Really not good.
let's I don't know, I kind of miss the creative core names looking at animated shows these days. I feel
That's
like
fair. That's valid.
Night of a Thousand Stars, is that it? You
But
know?
yeah, they're 9 of 1,000 stars.
Oh my gosh. I kind of
There's,
hope we get some of those. Okay.
there's some
Uh
gems there.
So Avatar Seven Havens is set in a world shattered by a devastating cataclysm. A young earthbender discovers she's the new Avatar after Korra, but in this dangerous era, that title marks her as humanity's destroyer, not its savior. Hunted by both human and spirit enemies, she and her long lost twin must uncover their mysterious origins and save the Seven Havens before civilization's last strongholds collapse. Okay, so there's like 10 things in there to talk about.
There was like so much information to digest.
It's kind of wild. The first thing, though, and I think people are missing this when they're diving into the details. I think by far the most important thing to talk about is the fact that this seems to be post-apocalyptic,
Yes.
and not modern or futuristic, like we were all thinking the latest Avatar
Yes.
show would be.
Like they were like, we got cars, and then immediately they were like, no more cars.
You know, like
Probably.
in terms of like, so there's the obvious thing of like the Legend of Korra, in case you missed it, establishes the technological timeline kind of mirrors our world because Avatar is set in like, mid 1800s, late 1800s, and then Korra is set in like the 1920s and with the somewhat equivalent technological timelines. And so we're like, okay, do the math on Korra and when she might die and the new Avatar is born. By the way, Rip Korra, but that's kind of
Rip
how this
Cora.
works.
Rip Cora.
I
That's
saw some
actually going to be the
people
name of this podcast. Is Rip Cora.
Rip Cora. I saw people being sad about it. I'm like, we've been through this before with Aang. It just means that
Like,
it's how it works. Aang was dead.
it's what
That's
we
how it
gotta do,
worked.
guys. Like, she
It's
died. I'm
just, it's
sorry.
just what
Well, it's like
happens.
Doctor Who. Literally, everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, guys, this is literally what we do every
Yeah,
time.
at least at Doctor Who, it's literally the same person. Here, it's kind of only vibes the same person.
I mean, okay. To be fair, the Doctor, it's basically just vibes with the same person.
Yeah. But the new actor always kind of acts it the same way as the old. Here it's
Yeah.
like a completely different personality. They're different there too. Anyway, so we were thinking like, okay, there's gonna be like cell phones, but not even just the technology. It's just gonna be a world similar to our world now, or they could skip and go for maybe Korra lives a long time, maybe something happens and they go even further into the future and it's futuristic. No, they choose to blow everything up here. Now, this isn't confirmed because there's not a lot of details here. And honestly, even in the leaks, there weren't like a ton of details from what I remember. So I don't really know what this world looks like. You get the impression that the Four Nations, a world that we know, is gone and is
Yes.
replaced by the Seven Havens. Save it's the end. It says save the Seven Havens before civilization's last strongholds collapse. So the seven Havens are civilization's last strongholds. So we're blowing up not just the fact that it's post-apocalyptic, we're like changing the whole like genre or whatever, or the setting. Like it potentially everything we know from the four nations is and just the very structure of the world is gone. Not confirmed, because here's what I was thinking, Delaney. The set each of the seven havens could be based on, it could be the remnants of a place from Avatar and Korra.
I
It's
feel
like
like Boston. I feel like so. I
Bossing
already had a
say, yeah,
theory.
yeah,
Boston say like at the very like I like even I was even imagining like there's like one like there's one like actual place left and it's literally Boston say, or I feel like we might start out in Boston say.
right. I think that's one of the big ones. You could, I mean, will they have a Republic City
Right.
stronghold, haven, Northern and Southern Water Tribe, right? Like, will each haven just be a version of
Right.
a major place we saw before? And in that case, okay, maybe the division of the four nations is gone, but it
Right.
still could be somewhat similar, just post-apocalyptic vibes. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Delaney. I'm kind of thinking like a Breath of the Wild is how it's like is how it's like
Yeah.
post-apocalyptic, but you see the places, the normal Zelda places, they're just like run down with guardians everywhere. You know, that's kind of what I'm
Yes.
thinking this is going to
That
be
that
like.
was the vibe I was getting, but we also have to take into account like so we don't know. And the world did change quite a bit while Korra was occurring. So we have to like we also have to consider depending on the kind of cataclysm, some of these places might not exist anymore. The Fire Nation is an island, like it is a string of islands.
Yeah,
There's a
what
very good chance that it no longer exists.
is it a physical cataclysm? Like
Yeah,
literally the land is being destroyed? This
right.
is a
It
good
could be.
question.
And I'm kind of imagining it's probably very much a physical and spiritual upheaval. And I mean, I feel like for it to have been basic, because we're talking about Seven Havens. I mean, we have the potential for complete societal collapse. So there's a really good chance that it was probably like, I feel like physical has to be part of the component to it. And maybe I don't know, maybe what if like a lot of people lost their bending, or maybe even more people got bending or something? Because I mean, we also have to deal with like we're also dealing with like the aftermath of people gaining, I mean, of airbending returning to the world. So I mean, there's a lot of things here, but like, I mean, we there are definitely some like delicate places. Like I find it very hard. I don't think the northern and southern water tribes are still going to be there.
Like physically.
Yes, like or like or if we're
Yeah,
going to talk
I mean,
about
who
the Seven
knows?
Havens and then being places we've been to previously, like I think the places that are most likely to
Yeah,
still exist
maybe the
are
culture
like
is
all of the Earth
transferred, but
Kingdom.
physically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting. Just to step back for a second, just the decision to not naturally progress the timeline from Korra and Avatar is a big decision. And my initial reaction, and it's I've been sitting with the leaks for a little bit, is not great. I'm not the biggest fan of this decision. That's why I said in the beginning.
I I
I
think
yeah, go ahead.
it's I almost think it's kind of a cop out. Like I think they were like this is going to be it would be too complicated. It'd be too like I mean,
I suspect they're not thinking it's going to be too complicated. It's like I think this has to be at a high level. I know people don't think about it. I think a bit more about these things in like a high storytelling level decision, having analyzed this on the podcast for many years with Delaney and other people. It's this has to be driven by a desire to reset things and not be
right.
beholden to decisions from 10 years ago from Cora. Like
Yeah, and
they want
you have to keep going forward in that case.
you just and the thing is they kind of did this with Cora to a lesser extent. They kind of
Right. Well, I mean,
reset
we had
things.
with Juan, there was some, there was some stuff that, I mean, and it's also interesting. It almost makes me feel like, so we know it's like there is definitely a spiritual component because they mentioned that
Yeah.
that the new avatar is being hunted by spirits. And it's like, do you regret what you did with Korra, with like the spirit world, or is this like the natural progression of that story?
Yeah, and I don't fully. We haven't gotten to Korra in our rewatch yet. I don't fully remember where we left things off with the spirit world, but we're opening spirit portals and stuff like that. And the spirit world was blending into the real world, right? Um,
Yeah, it was they were no longer separate.
which I has to be still true based on this description. But I don't really know.
Right, right.
It- God, I mean, just like to not just take the natural progression of things and it's just like such a striking decision. It's like they want to just play in a more in a new playground, more of their choosing, I guess. I understand it. I understand the desire for creative space. I understand the desire to do something different because if you're going to continue the way things were going from Avatar and Korra, to some extent, it's a similar show. If you want to do a
Right.
different genre, a different, completely different vibe of the show, you have to do something like this. So that's what I'm thinking that and Mike and Brian always want to do something new, something bigger, something better. Because, like I said, Korra to some extent is was this with Avatar. They do Republic City, they do the United Republics of Nations, right? Like they do a lot of differences from, I mean, just
Right. Korra was a very different show.
different, very different setting, very different stuff going on. It was like, they're going for much darker things.
Well, and
Um,
honestly, I mean, a lot of Korra's struggle was how much, like, I mean, honestly, Korra's character progression, a lot of it had to do with she was very different from Aang.
yeah. So that's it. That'll be interesting to see how that influences the new avatars. But yeah, I mean, it's this is a decision that is like not made with fan service in mind. So that I can appreciate. They're doing what they want to
Right.
do, not beholden to like because they're going to make it seems like they're going to make a show as unrecognizable from Avatar and Korra as possible. And if you're trying to bank on the popularity of Avatar, that's not what you would do. So they're trying to do this is what they want to do, it seems. I think this is what they want to do. So also, maybe this is has to do with the new animation style, although they're making an Aang movie. So I don't know. But yeah, I'm obviously not immediately the biggest fan, but like I'm very, very open to it. We got to see what they do
Right.
with it.
I think it's a little upsetting from a character standpoint, given that like can the avatar catch a break for like 2 minutes? Like there are avatars that didn't have to deal with anything. Like they exist. We know
Yeah.
that. And we're like,
Yeah.
no, we're gonna get three in a row, and it's just like the worst thing ever.
No,
Like
big struggles with each avatar. Yeah. So speaking of that, we
also
can.
like also like to use the word cataclysmic in comparison to two events that have occurred in the previous Avatar shows, like this is gonna be big. Like I mean, like we probably can't even actually fathom what is actually going to happen. Like I in my head, I'm like imagining like day after tomorrow,
Oh,
or
yeah.
like
That's good.
as stupid it is as it is, the movie 2012. God, that movie's stupid. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking. Like I'm thinking like tsunamis across the globe, like the spirits are mad, like really
Yeah.
messed up stuff is happening. I'm imagining like like climate change. Like there's like
Oh, yeah.
stuff
They'll
happening.
probably work that in. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
of course. And it's like I mean, and that makes sense too with like the industrial like blah 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 stuff. But I mean, to go from, I mean, we're talking about like the 100 Year War was like a big deal. Like we're talking, I mean, 100 years of this
Hmm.
horrible war and all the damage the Fire Nation did, and then to like literally rebuilding. And that's also what the movie's going to be about, presumably, because that's what happened after they won the war.
It's
And
true.
then we get into, and then Cora, like what, like Lord, like what are we
They're
doing?
not
Like
interested in like a stable environment for
no. And
their
I think
yeah.
I think to me that's the most like jarring, like, wow, like this is gonna be ridiculous. And then, it's like we were talking about from the leaks. We don't really like also we use the word like girl and like and we'll
We'll
maybe we'll
get to,
say
okay. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah. So
like I mean we're thinking about like I think this character might be younger than Aang and then dealing with
yeah.
this.
Right. Yeah, let's get to that. Last thing on the Cataclysm is, I mean, Cat Noir, Cataclysm, the Avatar world.
Of
There you
course, Cat Noir.
go.
And also,
So
as a World of Warcraft player, that's a whole expansion. That is an event. Also, I was like talking to my wife about this, and she had seen this, and I kept, and she's like, "You're like referring to it as like a thing." I'm like, "Okay, that's just how they describe it," but like, I'm going to assume it is like an event of some kind. But then I played World of Warcraft, and the Cataclysm is an event,
okay,
and that was also bad. So like, there's a lot going on here.
seems to be an event.
Yeah. Okay.
The
So that's
world
what
is
happened.
shattered
So
by a devastating
so
cataclysm.
Avatar, Ladybug. So
Okay.
this is either post Wish or
I think it's like Cat Blanc or something where it's like
that's what I was about to say.
this is the
Or
world
it's
that gets miraculous ladybugs back.
literally. I was like, it's either
We're losing people here. Okay.
yeah, we're losing people. They're gone.
The so let's talk about what people are this concept of the world hating the Avatar now. That's the title marks her as humanity's destroyer, not its savior. Um, Potentially implying that the last Avatar destroyed the world, you could say. That's not
Yes.
confirmed by this press release, but I will say it was in the leaks that Korra was caused the cataclysm or was like forced to cause the cataclysm. I don't know the framing. So there's a lot of discussion online about how like Avatar Korra causing this. How's this gonna go? Um, we're not going to spend a ton of time getting into this. I think my biggest thing is like we got to see how this is done.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. The thought that other than that, let's see how they do it, which is my reaction to everything here. The thought that they would Mike and Brian would do an arc of everyone in the Avatar world thinking Korra was like this terrible Avatar causing the cataclysm. They know that there's a lot of like quote unquote Avatar fans that hate Korra and they think she's so terrible.
Yeah.
Like the really annoying fans. By the way, you can like the show Korra less than Avatar, but like come on, you shouldn't like hate
Oh, like
Korra.
Korra's awesome, guys.
Um,
Like,
to think that they would do an arc like that and knowing what's up with the fandom is wild to me. I almost can't.
yes.
I kind of can't imagine them doing that. So that's kind of not what I think they would do. Obviously, you could say like they're doing a commentary on. It could all be.
Right.
It could be an intentional commentary on Korra's legacy, a meta commentary. That just seems so out there to me to do something like that. So my guess is
Right.
it's less about we blame the people in their world will blame Korra specifically, and more like what the press release says that they just hate the concept of the Avatar now. That's my guess.
And we were kind of getting there. Like, this is, I mean, when you think about it, this is actually the natural progression of the show and of the series. And we actually talked about this a little bit in the pitch, was that eventually you would think there would be people would feel that there's no longer a need for the Avatar. And also in even book one of The Last Airbender, we're talking about, I mean, people didn't believe in the Avatar anymore. The Avatar disappeared and this
Yeah, true.
horrible war happened. And a lot of people blamed Aang, and they're like, "You're gone." And that's the other thing is, I think people forget, like in certain areas, certain avatars are revered, but overall, they're just like the avatar.
Yeah. It's like a force of nature. It's
Yeah, and
so
we also
be.
have to think too. Oh, go ahead.
I've seen people comment that maybe it'll be a season long mystery where you then understand at the end why Korra had to do that, even if you don't understand it
Right.
at the beginning. I think something like that probably likely. We'll eventually
Right.
see that Korra was like this was in her mind the decision to make, and probably the best decision, or someone forced her hand or something. I don't know.
I would
Um,
assume. I mean, my assumption is that it's unintentional, or
or it could
like,
be unintentional, or
yeah, or like,
yeah.
she, to prevent something worse, this
Right,
had to
right.
happen.
Yeah. That must it must be that.
I was also kind of thinking of like a prophecy kind of thing,
Oh my
um,
gosh,
like the
prophecy.
avatar will blah 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 blah.
Yeah. I in general, I think doing a commentary on the concept of the avatar for this makes sense for people like Mike and Brian determining the story direction, very progressive, left-wing type people who like might want to do a commentary on how maybe one person shouldn't have all this power, type of thing. Maybe in reference to modern current events, I don't know how much of that's going to get in there. So I think themes working in themes like that, or at least exploring those themes, even if that's not their ultimate conclusion, like exploring themes like that, I think are probably in their interest.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on, because there's the fandom's in like a uproar, but there is still like, we still know. I mean, there's avatars that are very popular, that are very famous, that made mistakes,
Yeah.
and we know about them. It doesn't mean that like that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, and it doesn't necessarily mean we're villainized. Like, also watching a show, like, if we're gonna watch this, and let's say they do villainize Korra, that doesn't mean they're villainizing her as a character, as a person. Like, this is like,
It's like a plot device. Yeah.
it's a plot device. Like this isn't like necessarily something that's like, oh, like she's horrible forever and the showrunners hate Korra. Like that's not how this works. That's
Right.
not how stories work.
Right. So let's just see what they do with it. There's a
And
lot of
I was wondering,
interesting
like, I'm like,
potential.
oh, what does this mean?
Yeah. The concept to me, it's like the concept of questioning the concept of the Avatar. I think feels very in line with that. Actually, does feel like a natural progression of the shows. Putting it on Korra,
I mean,
I'm worried, but let's see what they do with it. You
yeah,
know.
I am interested in like an Avatar on the Run because we like Aang wasn't really an Avatar on the Run. Like, I mean, they had to like hide and do stuff, but like they were going on a journey. Like this is kind of a little different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the who the avatar will be. We mentioned this. We don't have a name for the avatar. I'll tell you from the leaks, supposedly is Pavi, but I also saw different names from other previous material. I think things can change. But also from the leaks, as Delaney mentioned, is Pavi and her twin sister could be 9 years old. This was the initial thing from the leaks. I was like, whoa, I don't know about this, so that it's not mentioned here. I will say that's not confirmed here. And also, even if it's true, it could be something like Legend of Korra, where we start off and Korra's like a child, and then we see in the next scene, and
right.
then you would
I
think,
mean, especially
it's
for
not going to
like
be for
something.
one scene, but it could be.
Well, especially something like this. I mean, we're talking about a cataclysmic event. Like it could be like, oh, she's 10. Well, we join back up with her. Like kind of like
Right. We
how
could,
Raya, that movie, I can't remember the full name of Raya and
oh, yeah, I don't even remember. Do we, oh, we start off earlier.
yeah,
How
you
about,
start with Raya.
yeah, a modern, a good. I mean, not that that's that old, but another good example is House of the Dragon. Half of the first season, some of the main characters are like teenagers, and then we skip a bunch of time for the second half of the season.
Yeah.
So we could do something like that. But it's a very striking decision to go younger than Aang. That being said, that's not confirmed. Let's talk about the twins, which is confirmed.
Yeah, that's
Um,
wild.
we a lot of people talking about what if the Avatar has a twin. I think in the latest books, it turns out Roku had a twin. So there's some additional material here from the leaks to bring in, which is like I don't even remember, to be honest, and I think it could be out of date or there could be plot twists. So I would take this with a grain of salt. But it could be like it was the wrong avatar. One of the other one is the actual avatar, not the other one, or both of them are the avatar. I feel like there's something like that, which uh doing the twins thing again. I like I said, almost everything here I'm skeptical of the details, but it doesn't matter. But the twin thing, I feel like we've seen this recently in media, so this is what worries me because we just had the Acolyte, a Star Wars show, which seems to be they seem to maybe wanting to be doing a similar thing. Also, She-Ra and the Princess of Power, not literal siblings, but some sort of friends or siblings from a young age from that have opposite circumstances. One gets to be in good, like rich or in good fortune, and the other one has hard times. That sort of thing was referenced by the leaks. I don't know if that'll come to fruition, but I definitely think there've been twin stories recently for sure on the minds of shows and movies and books and stuff. So I wonder if this was conceived of maybe before a lot of those started popping up. Again, we got to see how they do it, but yeah, I mean, doing twin avatars is even if only one of them's the avatar having a twin, exploring that, it is interesting. What do you
I
think,
think
Delaney?
I care more if it's like a split soul kind of thing. Um,
It might be for sure. It might be that.
it could be. It could be. I am interested. It would be interesting if like, which I don't know how they would do this. Which I guess the only way they could, I don't know, like the idea of like picking the wrong twin and being like, this is the avatar and they're not the avatar, but I don't even know how that would happen. But
Yeah, you should be able to tell what they when they bend. You
right,
know.
literally, like that's what I was like. I don't think you could do that. That I mean, I don't know if I care too much about like different circumstances because like we just said, it's like we get it. Like I got it. But I will say the twin soul thing is interesting to me. I will
It
say
does. It
a
does say her
like
long lost twin, so they didn't grow.
yeah, which
It's
is that's another
confirmed that they like
interesting.
didn't grow up together.
Right. Like this is it's interesting.
That does imply that one of them was taken as the avatar and the other one was left behind. So, very much like a Catra story. Obviously not romantic, but
Right.
like again, I'm like I've kind of seen this, you know.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I guess it just kind of depends on how it goes. I will I think it could make for an interesting like dynamic because usually the Avatar is very much a solitary character. Like I mean, we always have our little friend group, but they're generally like they're an only child or they're uh,
Yeah.
it's like
I
Korra has parents, but it's just being the Avatar is generally a solitary existence.
I hope they I it's the description says she and her long lost twin must uncover their mysterious origins.
Like this
Okay.
sounds like they're both the Avatar, right? Or like
Again, it's like literally what happened in the Acolyte, by the way. But
yeah, right, yeah,
like literally, the same thing. She
literally
and
what happened.
the part that interests me though, she and her like, are they going on a journey together? That I would like, because like I said, I like the Avatar's journey. I like companions to the Avatar. That's the type of thing I want to see, even if it's
We're gonna get like Zuko Redux, and it's like JK, it's your twin.
yes, and then Peppy Avatar with emo twin Avatar, or not.
I'm so
Maybe they're not. She's not the Avatar. And then we skip some time, and they're not nine. And then there's like they have the same love interest, and even though they're twins, something. There's I doubt they're going to do something like that again with the.
also one of them has to be gay. That's like my only requirement.
But well, they got if they're gonna fit my scenario, we gotta be on the same page with the love interest at least. But yeah, I mean,
They gotta be gay. I don't know. That's my requirement.
presumably that will be on Mike and Brian's minds after the ending of Korra. uh, so I just anyway to get back on the rails, I like the idea of them journeying together in some fashion. So that is interesting. Not I hope that they're because you could also read this as they're on like opposite. They must uncover that it doesn't mean they're together. They could be opposing forces.
It could very much catch Dora, but
That I
not
would
but
not
like
love. I
siblings.
don't want them to be opposing forces, but of course they will be.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we will see. Twins, post-apocalyptic, hunted by spirits and humans. Yeah, I like more spirit stuff. I don't know. They were on it. They
Well,
were
I
doing
guess
some interesting things in Korra with the
the one
spirits.
that's like, okay, are you being hunted because they like want to end the cycle? Why are we hunting the Avatar? Spirits. Like, I mean, I understand like maybe retribution for whatever happened, but it's like, but why though?
Yeah, we will find out. I guess probably a mystery.
Yes.
There you go. That is the major highlights, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, Delaney, other things on your mind about it?
Right now it's just like a bunch of jumbled like stuff.
We
Like we're
barely
just
have
gonna have to wait.
anything here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's like no information. It's interesting. I'm just interested to see what happens. I will say I have to admit I'm also scared. So when Korra came out, I was super hyped because I'm like a teenager and I'm like, oh my God, they're continuing Avatar. That's so awesome. Now I'm older and I have lived through several terrible reboots of things, and I'm just scared, like just mildly scared.
I get that. I also think Korra came out. Now, this is way longer than Korra was after Avatar, this show.
Right.
Korra came out
Yes.
and they eventually nailed it. And not only they nailed it,
Yes.
I do
It's
think
true.
Korra Book 3 was like the high point of all of Avatar and Korra. So
Yes, I agree. I do think Korra Book 3 surpassed all of original Avatar.
we'll see if we keep that opinion on the rewatch eventually. But that's at
Uh-huh.
least
That's
what we
also
said at the
true.
time.
Valid. Yes.
Uh, so Korra was like lived up. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, Korra sucked. Maybe they'll do better." Like if you're one of those people, you gotta watch continue to book 3. I mean, come on, hear what we're saying.
Yeah. You gotta watch it.
Um,
You gotta finish it.
they had opportunity to mess it up. They nailed it. It wasn't in the same way that they nailed it as Avatar, but they nailed it.
Right.
Will so I have a lot of faith. I mean, if Mike and Brian are literally making this show, then like I'm
Right.
not worried at all. So
Right. I guess, for me, it's just like now. So it's like when something ends, you're like, it's over. Okay. Like it's done.
yeah. Um,
Also, as someone who grew up and really liked something we can't talk about, and then more bad things happened, I just have trauma.
that was very vague. You talking about a show?
No, I'm talking about Harry Potter.
Well, hopefully Mike and Brian themselves are not the source of
Yes,
truth.
but like that's just what I'm talking about, like that deep trauma of like something just being utterly ruined. Like,
You're saying you're holding off on an Avatar tattoo?
I'm not actually. I am. I plan to get an Appa tattoo over my chest, and I was actually discussing this with Tanya last night. Of like, okay, which direction should Appa be flying? Like, I
That'd be
know where I
great.
want it, and I
That's
don't know how
great.
soon I'm gonna get it. It's not being delayed for any particular reason.
We're not worried about Appa being canceled.
Exactly. Like, I'm getting an Appa
Appa's
tattoo.
safe.
I just
Okay.
meant to say, I just meant like basically just I have like this that's the fear
Yeah,
is like,
I hear you. Yeah, so we'll and
what
look,
if it's bad?
we
I
haven't
don't
seen
think it's
anything from
bad.
Avatar Studios yet, so there's that worry for sure. I did speaking of Appa, I did wonder, will we see Air Bison? Will they survive the
Well, it's like
cataclysm?
we do because we had new ones.
New
I
ones.
mean, okay,
The
okay,
new ones magically appeared from thin air.
yeah, what if the one of the seven havens is in the sky?
Oh, that's cool. Very Tears of the Kingdoms. Yep.
Which, and
We
I don't even mean necessarily like an air temple. I mean like legit in the sky.
How high up we talking?
I don't know, but like high enough that it's not like, oh, it's just a temple on the mountain. I mean like it's in
Okay,
the
like
sky.
it's floating. It's a floating
Yeah,
thing.
I want it's like in the sky. It's not just really high up.
Lap you
It's in the
to float, Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but no, yeah, literally Tears of the Kingdom. Yes.
I like this. And then so one of them's going to be underground. I mean
Or
it's
in the
a
water. It's underwater. Atlantis.
Atlantis. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I like these are good brainstorming ideas for
One
this.
is in a volcano. Let's see, we're keeping with the theme of the
Okay.
elements. We got this, guys. We got this figured out.
I think this might be shockingly accurate. This might be the way to
I'm
go.
excited. I
One
mean,
of
well, and this just ties into Korra. Like, Olin like invented lava bending.
Oh yeah, so now if you go if like Mako was lightning bending casually after Avatar, so now lava bending will
Or in
be
the
like a
sky.
casual thing here, so everyone
Yeah.
can lava bend.
Yeah.
That's how they can
Exactly.
live. That's how they can
Exactly.
live in the volcano. Is they can all just
Yeah.
lava bend the
Exactly.
lava away.
Yep.
Okay, we like it. Um, I forgot what. Oh yeah, the thing I was gonna say before is the only I feel like the only consequence are if they blow everything up, at least the airbenders will still we'll still have the new airbenders. Presumably, they're not going to get rid of the airbenders
Right.
again. So that's one
Also, that would
consequence
be
that'll
really
probably
sad to
stay.
wipe them out twice. Like
I
that would
know.
be like, I'm like, do not do
I'm
that.
confident they won't do a second genocide. I'm confident of that.
Oh, also, I would be really irritated if like so obviously this is the new Avatar's gonna be an earthbender. I would be really irritated if she like also had trouble learning air just because Korra did. Like, let's not do that. Let's make her like really good at air for no reason.
Okay, that's good. I'm on board with that.
And then I have like a dumb like I don't know. I don't did we ever see Aang bend metal?
We're not there in the rewatch yet. Yeah, yes, right? I think in book 3 he probably does. Yes.
Well, I know Korra does. I don't know. I just because she's an earthbender,
I
it just
can't
seems
remember.
more
People
important to
don't
me.
ask questions that are gonna get people mad at us. We're not there yet. And
Okay, that's I'm sorry. I mean, this whole thing is gonna get people mad at us, but
yeah.
valid.
Uh,
Also, people are always mad at us. It's fine.
new Avatar will bend metal for sure.
I'm also kind of imagining like so. There's also this apocalyptic. We go like full Mad Max, and it's like if you know how to metal bend, you're like good to go.
Oh man, yeah, Mad Max Avatar. Yep, yep,
So
yep.
many options.
I mean, if all the civilizations wiped out, maybe metal's gone, but there's probably some metal lying
That's
around.
true. I feel like there's a lot of metal lying around if we're talking about
If it's
like all
Mad
the
Max,
remnants of the hundred
you want to be
core.
sandbending.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, also this whole time I've been talking, I'm literally just like, yeah, it's the whole show is just going to be the desert. Like it's literally just the episode The Desert. That's what this
Wow,
season's
that's
going to
exactly what I want.
be.
More cactus juice. I mean,
One of the havens is the library.
that'd be cool. That's the underground one.
Yeah,
Look, I like that we uncover the library. That's definitely possible.
that
Okay,
would be cool.
let's cut it off there. Good intro discussions. Avatar 7 Havens. Maybe we'll see if they keep the title. Probably. Of note, the title for the movie is untitled right now, so the Aang movie will have a different title.
It's just Aang.
Just Aang the movie. It'll be
Oh, and also
interesting.
so people don't get mad. I'm pretty sure this. I actually now that I'm remembering, I think the temple actually the library returned to the spirit world, and that's when they go to it in Korra.
You guys keep telling me things happen in Korra involving the spirit world, and I have no memory of these things. Like, when did that happen? Book 2, probably.
I actually think they went to the library in book 4 because it's like Janora when she's like a
Does the
spirit bunny.
library go? Okay, I mean, I guess the whole spirit world's in the physical world now.
Yeah.
So at
So
the end of
either way, the library could still be underground, but like in the spirit world, who knows? It's fine.
yeah. Okay, we're gonna have to we'll have to get
We
into
gotta
all
hurry
that.
up. Yeah.
We'll get into all that. Let us know what you thought of all these ideas on Avatar Seven Havens. And by the way, Magic the Gathering Avatar set was announced today. Not really any other news. So we await a single
So
frame of
now,
a single frame of animation from Avatar Studios. We have not seen.
and
Uh,
also my wife is like, y'all gotta stop because me and Dylan are gonna like buy things.
Look, there's more back. We talked about this in the rewatch. Back when Avatar was airing, there was like no merchandise, and now
There's
it's
no
like
merch, and
there's
now
like
I have
now there's
adult money.
infinite merchandise, and we have money. It's a
Now
bad
there's
combination.
now there's infinite merchandise, and I have adult money, and I'm gonna buy stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So we're looking forward to more merchandise, I guess. Let us know what you thought of our ideas here. Try to keep the spoilers from the leaks to a minimum, although again, a lot of it might not pan out. So I'm just worried because there's a lot of details in the leaks. I'm like, not all of that is going to be true. Even if all of this was true, this was just high level stuff.
Right.
Um, make sure you're subscribed at search from the spirit world or overly animated anywhere you listen to podcasts. Over youtube.com/overly animated for our from the spirit world um, rewatch podcasts. And if you enjoyed this, you can consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/overly animated. Thanks to all of our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Carter, and thanks as always to our patron executive producers, Steve, Michael, and Phoenician. You get some rewatch podcasts early on the Patreon as well. If you're an original from the Spirit World listener or someone who listened to us back in the day, reach out, say hi, podcast at overlyanimated.com. Leave a comment anywhere. We want to hear from you. Very exciting Avatar times to come here. Oh, yeah,
Hi, Ty.
release date of this not announced, but this show's not coming until minimum late 2026, probably more likely 2027. Just throwing it out there. So we will see. Let's just get let's the move. Let's have the movie actually release first, which is currently slated for January 2026, but we'll see.
God, it's like Ladybug in the movie, and then waiting for the next season.
Oh yeah. Hopefully not as long as some of these waits. What should we end on, Delaney?
Rip Cora.
Okay, that's true. Thanks for listening, guys. 1, 2, 3. Rip Cora.
Rip Cora.